Welcome to Talking Europe from the European Parliament here in Strasbourg. Now, 8 months before the U.S. presidential election, the spectre of a second Donald Trump presidency is stalking America. Now, depending on whom you believe, the world's biggest superpower is either sleepwalking into dictatorship or everyone just needs to chill out. Now, there are many unknowns, obviously, in this election. But America's full of all of these dystopian warnings that Donald Trump's presidency, again, would bring fear and chaos. Europeans, too, are bracing for the impact of a Donald Trump 2.0, a reboot of Donald Trump. And with me today are two MEPs who are very much involved in Europe's relations with Europe. And they, too, are facing up to the question of what should Europe be doing to prepare. First, I have Jaak Madison. Welcome. You are an Estonian MEP, and you sit with the right-wing Identity and Democracy group here in the Parliament. You're involved in the delegation that deals with relations with the United States specifically. And also facing off is Jelena Zovko. I got it right? Yes?
Absolutely.
Jelena, a Croatian MEP, and you are with the center-right European People's Party, the largest grouping here in the European Parliament. You too, you are actually the vice chair of your party's Commission for Relations with the U.S. Congress, and also a member of the delegation for the United States. This is a mouthful, but just so you know, they both know the U.S., and they both have to face the prospect of Trump. Jaak, I'm going to cut right to the chase, okay?
All right, go ahead.
You're sitting there humbly, okay? I see, but I have to ask you. Viewers, Jaak, a few years ago, was among people who nominated Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm not making that up, right, Jaak? You
absolutely
did.
Correct, absolutely correct.
Okay. I want to ask you
why.
Why? And I want to ask you, does that mean you are among the very few Europeans, let alone Estonians, who are not fearful at all of the prospect of a return of Donald Trump?
I think we shouldn't be very feared. Because, well, the fact is that U.S. has a democracy. They have their own elections. They will elect themselves for the next president. And if you're coming from a very small state like Estonia or even from Croatia, you have to manage with any kind of president of the United States. So finally, it is not our business to say that, oh, we prefer like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, because it doesn't matter like who are sitting in the White House. Our interest is to have a normal relations with the U.S. and to have a normal partnership in the NATO. But why I nominated Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, there are especially like two factors. The first of all, it was the first time in the last 30 years when Russia didn't start any kind of new war or aggression during the Trump's period for 4 years. And for us, if you're a neighbor for Russia, it was a very important question.
Okay, so that was before 2022. We're going back. Do you still feel the same way today? Would you nominate him today?
I'm just looking at the facts. Well, it's easy like to read on the newspapers like the here titles that, oh, Trump is coming back, oh, he's a friend of Putin. I'm just looking at the facts. The fact was that Trump started to give again military aid to Ukraine. Biden stopped it. Biden has been very slow to give a really weapon to Ukraine, what will help Ukraine to fight against the Russian aggression. There are the facts. Also, Trump was, of course, like...
He's been slow. Well, the Republicans in Congress are right now holding up.
Yeah, but finally, I think Trump was absolutely right also for the Europeans, because finally, why the Americans have to pay 65% of their NATO budget, while Europeans are just, taking it easy. Hey, let the American pay. It's their duty. And then we are sitting here in Estonia, we are paying over 3% of the GDP to our defense. And when we're watching the Germans or French or Spanish, and they're like, well, we still have some time, don't rush. Oh, we have Americans there.
Okay.
So it's fair enough to say that Trump, yes, is unpredictable sometimes. It's true. But on the other hand, I'm just looking at the results. And the result was that Russians were keeping there where they are.
Jelena, you just heard Jaak say, I heard him say it, I hope you heard him too. He said, it doesn't really matter ultimately who's sitting in the White House. He comes from Estonia. It's a frontline state on the border with Russia. His country knows what Russia's aggression's about. How do you respond when you hear him say this? It doesn't really matter.
Well, I didn't say exactly that.
You said it doesn't really matter in the end.
It doesn't really matter that we have to choose the sides. What
But
or
it's
which
Donald
kind of
Trump,
we support, we have to manage with any kind of president in the White House.
I understand,
to have
but
normal
Donald,
relations.
Jelania, I put to you, Donald Trump's not like any other president if he's reelected.
Right, but who are we to judge who will be elected? So we are democracy and respect democracy in the United States. And we hope that these democratic elections will be really democratic and respected by all the citizens of the United States, and to have a full president who is also in control. He's not the only institution that is controlling American foreign policy. There's a Congress, there's a Senate.
But the Congress would presumably be doing whatever Trump says they should do.
I don't think that the United States of America is autocracy. It's a democracy. It's a beacon of hope. So we are. What I'm doing on behalf of my group is I'm building bridges between Democrats and Republicans, and we have a chairman of foreign affairs delegations now that we are having this transatlantic legislative dialogue who is coming from the Republicans, and this is bipartisan delegation, and we are having good relations with both parties. So we are representative of democratically elected representatives of citizens, and we are not making distinctions, but we are trying to make the same lines, because for us the key issue is to have more investment in European defense, to have more seriousness about our own protection. And today, President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, was talking about that. We are voting on the CSDP report on our common security and foreign policy. NATO is our key umbrella, but European pillar is something that we have to strengthen. So we are working hand in hand with Americans on that.
I hear you. However, I still have to ask you, when Donald Trump suggests, he hasn't said it explicitly, it suggests he would pull the U.S. perhaps out of NATO altogether. He would pull the funding on Ukraine. He would let Russia do what it wants with allies who do not pay up to their NATO dues. When you hear those statements, don't your eyebrows go up a little bit?
That's unfortunate statements that I still presume are given in the election campaign.
It's just political statements. It's campaigning.
Absolutely, I don't consider them serious. And taking into account the conversations I had with the Republicans, that is out of question. And they're concerned as well about the situation in Ukraine, about Russian aggressive approach, and I can see bipartisan approach that they need us. They need to continue this fight to get Ukraine, freedom of Ukraine, and to finish off this war. So it's in the elections, I mean, everyone is saying all sorts of stuff. And for American public, I would not like to banalize it, but you are not using bureaucratic talks, and Trump is a populist.
And Trump's a populist. Listen, it's fair when I say to you that you are from a right-wing party. I could even say you're from a far-right grouping, right? That you don't take exception to that. Identity and democracy, for many people, is considered a party of the far right. And you acknowledge that Russia has been a clear and present danger to a lot of frontline states. You wrote this recently. Absolutely. How do you reconcile that with the fact that you have a president who potentially Donald Trump cozies up to, admires authoritarian leaders such as Vladimir Putin?
First of all, I have to agree with my colleague, because like most of the politicians, actually like 99% of politicians are populist before the elections. They're giving like any kind of promises, whatever is likable in the public to get the votes. And we know it very well, it's very tight
to get the votes of the far right, to get the votes of far right voters.
And when we reading the statements from 2015-16, before the last time elections when Trump won the elections, they're also very similar. I will have a deal with Putin. I will go to North Korea to meet with rocket man Kim Jong-un. I will have a deal here and there and there. But of course, the outcome and the result is totally different. And the result wasn't bad at all. And of course, like, it's very popular for the American public to say, why our farmers in Texas have to pay for the security and defense in Europe while they are paying the high pensions for the social healthcare system, what we don't have it here in America, and we are paying for the security. And if they're coming a candidate saying that, well, we don't agree with that, they also have to pay their share. I think it's fair enough, like to win fair elections. But of course, I really hope, and I'm pretty sure that the reality is a bit different. And of course, Trump will not decide alone in the White House, hey, we're going to just pull out from NATO and we don't care or we don't give a damn like in the Eastern Europe.
Maybe.
That will not probably happen.
Maybe, maybe not. We have a little time left. I want to ask you. People have been using the term that Europe should be Trump-proofing itself. That is making Europe invulnerable to anything Trump might do. Can Europe defend itself if the U.S. is not behind it?
Absolutely not. The European Union cannot defend itself at this moment on its own. No one can be on its own, and not even United States of America. So we have to build our security, continue building with our transatlantic partner. That include the United States, America, and all are like-minded partners. So the fact is, we should not lie neither to our citizens nor our voters. No one is an island, so no one can defend itself. We have to communicate clearer what the dangers of autocratic regimes are. I must remind you, it didn't start with Republicans, but it started many years ago when America started pulling itself from north of Africa, when we had Africa, Arab Springs, and then we had all these migration waves, and then we had these pull-out troops in Afghanistan. So whoever is elected the president in America, we have to do the communication strategy that is much more clearer, that much more direct, because I see that this was not the case. That's why my job as somebody who is rebuilding these bridges is to go there and to explain. I mean, European diaspora has built America, so there is a huge interest as well in their constituency to rebuild these bridges. And as in the Second World War, if we let one dictator take over, there will be some other Jean Monnet going to Roosevelt and say,
we could go all the way back through history.
So that's the case. But history is reminding us that Hitler can be born if we just sleepwalk into catastrophe and not do anything to prevent it.
And unfortunately, we are out of time. Zhelana has the last word there. So are we sleepwalking right now, as I said at the beginning, into a dictatorship? Is Europe being a little too complacent? My guests today seem to think that maybe we're all a little overexcited and that things will somehow resolve themselves. I thank both of you for being here, being my guests, and I thank all of you for watching.